Well, I finally did it. I got all the garlic out of both beds. I did that bed earlier in the week. I finally went through and got this bed. There's my pile. It was an undertaking, mostly having to wade through the weeds and whatnot. But now I have to find out where to put them because my first batch of 100 takes up the whole drying rack that we have. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these. I'll probably put them in the greenhouse for tonight so some of the dirt can dry and I can knock that off tomorrow. And then maybe I'll see how those other ones are drying and consolidate. But I wanted to show you a couple things. One is why we cut scapes. So, the scape is that flower that starts to curl, and then if you leave it, it'll go straight. It'll eventually open up and look similar to like an onion flower, and it'll get tiny little, what they call bulbils. So if you don't pull the scape off, you end up with a head that looks like this. Hang on. So very tiny, size of my thumb, a little bigger. So just a matter of like maybe a month goes by when you pull those scapes off and you end up with something a little bigger. So that is the first thing I wanted to show you. And then I wanted to show you what happens if you plant them too close. I have one over here. Then you just end up with a lot of small ones stuck together. I mean, they're still usable, but they're very small. I have a lot of small ones this year because I also had a lot of I don't know if they migrated or if they were volunteers or what. The last thing I wanted to show you is what happens when you plant the bulbils instead of an actual clove of garlic. So you can save those little, basically seeds on the top. And you can plant those. And when you plant those, let's see, I had a whole bunch. Where'd they go? Right here. When you plant those, then you get a single clove. So all these came from a bulbil. Now, you definitely can use those, or you can plant these. So then the second year, next year, you would get an actual head of garlic. So that is the difference between planting the clove of garlic versus a bulbil, and what happens when you leave the scape on versus taking it off. Some of these are I probably should have got to this sooner. I've got, let's see, there was a leaf down here, 2, 3. We're working on 4, so not too bad, but starting to see some of these were a lot further along, like this one. So the problem with that is that the paper starts to wear out, which means they won't save for as long. So, use those first. And then what we do is we'll use the small ones, which I actually don't mind the small ones because I can use a whole small one, quite easily, or a couple, versus just, 1 or 2 cloves from a big one. And then the big ones we save and plant those in the fall, probably October, November for here. Depends on what the winter's looking like. But so when all the pumpkins are done, I'll till this up, plant the garlic, cover it with a really thick layer of straw, and then I cover it with like a fence, like a fence panel, so that the chickens and whatnot don't get in there and dig it up before it has a chance to grow, because they really love straw. But that is the garlic season, so got a little cleaning to do. But I'm finally done, and now the pumpkins can take over the patch and do what they will. Well, it was Friday, today's Wednesday, so not a full week since I finally got the rest of the garlic out. I finally got around to knocking all the dirt off of these, and so a little over half of these were sitting in a wheelbarrow in the garden shed because I didn't want them getting rained on. but the dirt was still really wet, so I didn't have a chance to work on them. So finally getting to that. This is not the most ideal situation here because I have them overlapped, but it's the best I can do, and it's a, you know, big holes, so at least they're getting air from multiple places, plus they are pretty dry at this point. So I'm going to let these sit for a while till they're completely dry before I start cutting the roots off and the necks off. But that's what we have. I think there was about 240 heads total.
There's 200 of these?
There's over 200 of those.
Oh my god.
That's a lot of garlic.
What's in here?
That's the flower. That's one that I didn't take the scape off of. It just hasn't opened yet. That will turn into this. And that's where the bulbils grow.
Can I open it?
If you want.
I want to see what happens if you just open it right now.
Okay, we'll see what happens if you open it. Just little, like, flower parts.
That are gonna grow.
Yep, here we go. So that is garlic harvest 2024. Now we just have to clean them up and then go through and separate the big ones for replanting and the ones with, you know, kind of got damaged or whatever for immediate
and this
eating.
is what happens, Mom.
Yep, that's what happens. And then the ones that we'll save for later.
And then it turns, and then on the other side is garlic.
Yep, on the other side is garlic. That's the part that's in the ground.
Look at this tiny baby one.
Yep, that's this little one.
It's a baby.